Hello,
Welcome.
it's Michael and Ethan here.
It's Ethan here.
This is Michael. That was Ethan. Um, today we're here. It's the 1 year anniversary of American Nazareth, a little short film.
Wow.
Thank you. That was Hunter, our audio engineer, clapping. Um, yeah, 1 year since we released this. Feels like it's been a lot longer because I think we filmed this in December 2020. No, 2021. No, it was 2021.
20.
Because we started writing in
Oh, okay.
2021, filmed it December 2021, and released it in July 2022.
July. Yeah.
So yeah, 1 year anniversary of that.
Crazy.
It feels like it's been a lot longer since this was finished. But I guess it's only been a year because we in the span of that we've already made our next short film, like
Right.
filmed it and everything.
We're talking about another one.
Yeah, so this is like long behind me.
That's-
so it's good to come back to this and check it out.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk a bit about like the writing process and like how that all started. This originally began as a poem that was kind of in response to just like everything being super politicized in like 2020 and just kind of a response to seeing a lot of just Christian nationalism in the world. I was reading Postcards from Babylon by Brian Zond at the time, which is a book on Christian nationalism. So just kind of had a lot of random feelings about it, and just one afternoon wrote down some random words on a page that were kind of related to it. And originally we were talking about doing something that was similar to my Soil and Skin video, where I took a poem from Bo Palin and we just put visuals to it. It was the original idea. And then we talked about it a bit more, and I kind of ended up becoming like a parable thing. We were like pulling from a bunch of different biblical like iconography things, and yeah, at some point it just like became like a story instead of being just a bunch of mismatched visuals.
Yeah.
I remember the one specific, like us being at the dog park was like a specific like turnaround point. I don't know if you remember that. You and I were both at the dog park, and we were just talking about it, and then we're like, this is kind of just like a parable, I guess. This isn't even really like I don't know. At some point we made the connection that it was like just a parable. So we're like, yeah, let's go into that.
Right. Really lean into it.
Yeah.
I do remember that conversation. Yeah.
I felt like that was a pretty big turning point. But yeah, we were just kind of talking about like making Christian nationalism into a character of some sorts. And also just doing some sort of like interesting character study type thing.
I think it came at a good time. Well, I think it was born out of a time where you and I were kind of in a similar place with like religion and like deconstruction and just everything that was going on in that time. And you're totally right. Like the politics that were showing up everywhere, and just, it was a tumultuous time, I think is what I would say. So it would make sense that it was born out of that. And I remember when you approached me with the poem, I thought that was really cool, but I didn't see how it would like translate into a short film. But then as we went on, obviously it did. And I remember you pitching me like the first like concepts of it, and it like, I think it immediately made sense to me. I think you and I have a pretty, I think we understand each other's like language of like, I guess filmmaking, but just talking about concepts. I think we share that language pretty well. So I was really interested in seeing what we could do with that. I remember I don't remember exactly what it was that you like posted somewhere. I think it was on the Trade Your Time bio. Actually, you were talking about American Nazareth, and you said it like combined aspects of like surreal art that we're both into and like nature. And I was like, I never thought about that at the time, but looking back on that, you were on the ball with that description.
Yeah. Yeah. It is also interesting because now I remember, like, as we were talking about it being a poem and then writing a story around it, it does still kind of follow the structure of the poem, but still still has its like story components to it as well. Yeah. Like, I think the original idea we're going to have also is just to have the poem be like on screen.
Yeah.
For the different parts that followed the poem. So that was an interesting way to write a story, I felt like, to just like make its skeleton be the poem, but then the meat is like everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never actually posted. I guess I can share the poem on this video as we're talking about it, so you can read through it.
I remember pretty vividly hanging out at your house on Monroe, and I'm trying to remember some of the like early pitches and like how it ended up deviating from the like original, like what those original thoughts you had were. I don't think it was super different.
Yeah.
Though.
It was mostly just like vignettes and like little images that kind of correlated, that like we slowly started like connecting them all together into like less of being like separate images. 'Cause my plan was to have it be like one line of the poem, this is an image, next one is an image, and they're not like necessarily connected.
Yeah.
And then we started like kind of stringing together a story through that, and then just kind of instead of using the poem, it just kind of like went off into its own story.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only real like stark difference that I can think of in that. There was, I think we had it kind of like, I don't know. There wasn't anything that was like major at the beginning. I felt like it was just like figuring out what it is, and then we figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we had like a pretty loose structure. And then the rest just kind of fell into place.
Just kind of filling that all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, production was fun on it. We rented an Airbnb, shot it on a couple unusually warm days in December. Except for that like second night after it had rained and it was like really cold outside. Right. But yeah, just a 2.5 day shoot. Pretty easy.
Pretty quick.
Pretty quick. All like very concentrated in this one Airbnb. And we had a lot of time to sit around and watch whatever was on cable that we could watch, because there was like no Wi-Fi there or anything. Yeah, I guess we can get into it now.
Sure.
After, if you want to press play on this. The use of the trees to tell the different seasons. I forgot that we did that until I rewatched it like earlier today.
Sure.
I was pretty much just filming the trees as we were like writing it, like in anticipation for needing that footage.
Right.
Should we talk about, I guess we should talk about the lines, what those are. In the script, I think it said like, is God and everything in between. I guess you could just say it's like Solomon's, whatever Solomon is like praying to or like asking from whatever God that would be. Doesn't necessarily have to be like the Christian God, but like left it like intentionally ambiguous, just so in the same way, like if you're praying for something, like you don't really know what the response is, and you kind of have like you could have a million different interpretations as to what it's doing on the screen.
Right.
as you see in the short film, it like gets more and more tangled, and whether that's a good or bad thing is like up to the viewer.
Right.
If you're talking to Solomon, he might say it's like a good thing, right, as it kind of becomes more and more corrupt, but like someone else could see that and be like, oh yeah, that's not good. Those potatoes were undercooked. I made them very quickly and did not realize how much time potatoes need to cook. So
our actor Sam had a great time eating them.
Yeah, he like spit them right out after each take.
He did a lot of eating.
He really did. A lot of potatoes. There were a lot of potatoes on set.
Yeah.
Kind of showing Solomon's day-to-day life, getting him set up here. Some TVs, the tattoo effect looks a lot worse than other TVs. Yeah. We had to mask out Sam's tattoos. He's got like anime tattoos,
right?
And it would not fit within the story,
right?
Probably should have done like some makeup on that instead. It would have been a lot easier on my end, but you live and you learn.
You live and you learn. It's one shot anyway.
Yeah. So as far as like the glass and what we're about to see, the grave site, you want to talk about that? The backstory that we had?
Sure.
That we're trying to hint at.
Yeah. So we left it pretty ambiguous. There could be a lot of interpretation. But I think our intent was that, I think as the short film goes on, we tried to hint that this isn't necessarily like his home, and that he had maybe a partner that he was, I guess, taking the home from someone with.
Yeah, kind of a Bonnie and Clyde situation.
Yeah, and then in the squabble to take the home, his partner might have died or something to that effect. So.
And the person, what was his name? I
Did we have a name for the homeowner?
Yeah, he mentioned his name, I think. Or no. Yeah, he did. Carson at the end mentions someone's name. I don't remember what his name was, but we'll see here in a second.
This might be a bigger moment than I thought. Was that Carson's grave?
No.
Okay.
No.
I misunderstood you.
No, it was the previous homeowner had also died, but that was his
and he mentioned
grave.
his name. He said like Farmer something.
Farmer Dan or something.
Dan, yeah.
Yeah, as we see, Solomon's food supply gets cut short. Some animals or something ravaged his potato garden. He's becoming increasingly hungry and more
lethargic.
Lightheaded, lethargic. But yeah, try to put those like subtle hints in there of like the backstory as far as like what it could be, but
yeah. And we wanted to kind of portray that he's like, I don't know, when I'm viewing him now, I don't know if I thought of this originally, but I think what I'm picking up on is that he's kind of stuck in a way. Mm-hmm. It seems like he doesn't know exactly where he's going next, I think is what I'm picking up on this viewing.
As the winter months come,
right,
he has no food now.
Yeah.
He just got these potatoes that he already grew. I think if I were to go back, I think the plastic bowls I would have changed out.
Yeah.
like for something a bit, I don't know, like even wooden bowls I think would have been great.
Sure.
Some of the set design things I think I would have liked to have more focus on. I think in doing like cinematography and directing, there was a few of those things that I felt like got a little less love. Like this bowl would have been a lot better if it was like a wooden bowl or something.
Right.
Also, I think I watched this again today and I was like, why did we put 2 other potatoes in there? The message was supposed to be that he's like low on food, and so
true.
he eats that rotten one.
Yeah.
which is, if you didn't pick it up, viewers, he eats a rotten potato because he runs out of food. And then throws it up. Yeah. But you also see 2 other potatoes in there.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of the trade-off, I guess, was that, it was like a 2.5 day shoot, I think you said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, that design was going to be a little limited for the sake of speed. But so, yeah, nasty potato. Blech.
Blech.
Yeah, there was a lot about the set that could have been better, but
yeah,
for what we were working with, I think it turned out pretty good.
We were also like working at an Airbnb that none of us had been at till like the night before we started shooting, so
lots of improvising.
Yeah. This scene, we actually got lucky and shot it right before it started raining, so there's a lot of nice little like lightning coming in the behind, and then we had our like production assistant overall guy, Kyle Ross, holding up just like a little LED light behind that tree over there. There's also like some fake light to like try to hide him behind the tree. I don't know, you could probably zoom in and see bits of Kyle back there, but this was shot on a different night, the night where it was like really cold out. It got dropped down to like, I don't know, it's probably like 30s.
It was so cold.
It was really cold. Like Sam had to like throw on his jacket in between takes. We did the little Apple switch there. What is that called? There's a term for that when you like something goes off screen, you switch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
I want to say it's like the Tennessee switch or something, but I don't think that's what it is.
we'll call it the Tennessee switch.
Yeah.
Coin it now.
Yeah, this music, this part of the song was pretty fun to make and figure out. There's like a bunch of, I opened up this piano that I had and just like hit the little strings on the inside of it with there's like a little mallet on the inside of a piano. I don't know if you've ever seen the inside of a piano, but yeah, just like hit it with the mallet and like try to like strum the strings and make a bunch of like creepy sounds with it.
I think what we wanted to imply in this scene was that he wasn't sure if it was a dream last night, if it was some like delirious thing that he had cooked up out of, raw hunger, but
yeah,
then he finds the apple.
Yeah.
Of course, naturally, he's wanting to go find more.
A lot of spray painted apples. We found this like golden food safe paint, and I just sprayed it on a ton of apples. I think this is probably my favorite shot in the whole thing. I just love all the vices going on at once. For this scene, we had Sam was playing. His guitar was a little out of tune. He's playing, I believe, in the key of G. So I intentionally made this song be in G sharp, so it sounded bad, and kind of made it feel a little more unhinged. Also, as he's just like getting into this apple, I think it just like subtly makes you feel weird, which is, I think, exactly what we're going for with that scene.
That was such a goofy scene. I love Sam's commitment to it, just eating the apple off the guitar. That's so great.
Also, this was all lit with candlelight, which now that I'm thinking about is like an insane thing to do.
Very tough.
But I think it looks good. It looks like candlelight. I'm surprised.
I think it helped it be moody.
Yeah.
The darkness and the sharp contrast. Yeah.
All of the line animations were animated at 12 frames per second to be more of like we were originally trying to do it like actually animated,
like hand drawn.
Yeah. But I think it made more sense to do it like with effects.
It also would have been way too much work to hand draw. It wouldn't have given the same effect, but it turned out pretty good. You know, one thing I didn't think about is that one thing that I never considered about the short film is that our main character, Solomon, I was like, how did he not notice the fruit originally? But to me, I think it is really fitting that he actually didn't notice the fruit until he was hungry. Like, until he had no more food, and then he noticed the fruit. Somehow I think that fits his character. And
then he like attributes that to like a blessing from God. That's what the whole like outside the light guiding him sequence was, because there's also like him kind of being delusional, finding that, and then also like something out of like the Bible, like a light guided him to this tree where there was magic apples.
And of course he's thinking about that rotten potato. He's not going back to that, no sir.
Nope.
This was a cool shot.
Yeah. Shout out to Carson.
Hey.
First person that speaks on screen in this thing.
And the last person, I think.
Property?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I think so.
Just you here? It's just me.
We wanted to subtly convey that it wasn't just him on the property, that maybe he had some family there.
Yeah. Tried to
Live around here?
get like the house in the background the whole time to like visually like show him like protecting in the frame. Yeah.
About 8 months. Take a seat.
We were trying to get very Midwestern on that one. He offers him a seat. We scripted him to be much more polite, but it didn't really make sense in the context.
Yeah.
Has lived here since before I was born.
What was I talking? Oh yeah, this
He inherited a
I think I
pretty nice piece
very
of
like subconsciously like
here.
took this scene from the scene in The Last of Us where Ellie and I can't remember his name, but the guy
David?
The Daniels family.
Yeah, David. We're talking and he like knows something about her and it's revealed. It's like pretty beat by beat like that.
Pretty
but
similar.
But
Mr. Poole lived down
You
that
know.
way.
Yeah. Mr.
well,
Poole.
that's what happened. Mr. Poole.
There's the farmer.
Grew
Yep.
potatoes.
Rest in peace.
Kept a pretty nice garden too. He died about 8 months ago. I know what you did.
We had an alternate take where like
If I ever
sparks
see you
flew
back around
out
here again,
as he like pulled the gun
I'll
out.
kill you.
It looked really cool. I'll include that in the behind this or in this commentary later on. But
And the energy when it happened on set was insane.
yeah. It was really cool, but it did not fit.
No.
It was like way too dramatic
Way too much.
for like what is going on here.
But it was cool that it happened.
This was shot in my backyard, actually. That shot.
I liked how purple it was.
Yeah.
So they have a standoff, and then we just see the aftermath here.
I think this makeup turned out pretty good with the low light.
With the lighting.
Yeah. You can like very subtly see like the blood gushing down the like other side of his face.
Yeah,
And like on his knuckles and stuff.
definitely.
But I like that the bloody gash is like on the like dark side of his face. I think that really helps because otherwise it probably would look really bad.
Yeah.
But
nice touch.
and then we hear the music fade out as he takes a bite. He's calm. Oh wait, he says thank you. That was the last line.
So
yeah.
he doesn't. He's not the last person
Yeah.
to speak.
I think most of these shots we got in like one take. Primarily, I think because they weren't speaking,
Right.
So like getting like actions was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Sam did a really good job at just like knowing what needed to be done. That shot I think we did like 1 or 2 times.
I think we only did that twice.
Yeah.
And the second time, I think he nailed it.
Yeah. American Nazareth.
Then we end on that line shot, and that's it.
Yeah. This like guitar effect thing that's happening here, I had like a crazy delay on my guitar and what is that artist's name? I'm gonna have to look. I'm looking it up right now.
Chihei Hatake.
Yeah. There's a track by him, and I was just like taking my phone and like playing it off of my phone and then putting it up to the next to the like pickups on my guitar and just kind of like waving it in and out, and then the delay was like doing a lot with it. Black Elk Black Midi did that on their BM song live. Took some inspiration from that. So a little shout out to Chihei on that track.
For sure.
Yeah, that was American Nazareth. Yeah. Any final parting thoughts on this?
Yeah. I think there were some things, like how I was talking about how he didn't find the fruit until he was hungry. I think there's like some observations that I'm like pulling from it now.
Mm-hmm.
I might not be able to like vocalize them all right now, but I think I pulled some more from it now that we've had a distance from it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, there was some stuff that we were like putting down intentionally or not that like worked out that maybe weren't like that didn't cross my mind originally.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. I think that definitely like I've noticed some of that too, going back to it, and even like Trade Your Time, like those, like that kind of stuff. I've noticed like plot things that I hadn't noticed before that like really work out. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's pretty
That's
cool.
actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I did that, but
it makes sense that like, I feel like that happens with most art. It's not like necessarily always up front in your mind, but then you come back to it later and you're like, oh no, I was working with some stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I want to like focus on moving forward, is just like trying to just be okay with not having all of the answers when writing something.
Yeah.
Just like, this feels right. This makes, I mean, like it's not like a huge plot hole. It isn't like totally out of left field, but it like feels like it should be.
Right.
And so I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah.
And then I think that'll just be cool.
Like trust your gut and let it kind of work itself out.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, American Nazareth. Yeah, I think I like it. It's got like a lot of like if I were to go back and refilm it, there's like a lot of stuff that I would do differently
for sure.
And try to like focus on more. Like I was saying, like set design, I think is a big thing that I would want to go back and like really try to focus on, or at least like have someone come on and have that be their job.
Definitely.
We were working on a pretty small crew already with this.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's like some stuff like that, maybe some story stuff that could be a bit more clear, but
sure.
Really good experience making this. I feel like learned a lot from it, and a lot of it carried over into Trade Your Time.
I agree. I think like a core, I think another thing that you and I like relate on, earlier I was like at the beginning I was talking about how we kind of like share a language for talking about like art or concepts or things like that. Allegory, I think, is something that interests both of us a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's cool that, yeah, I think if I were to offer a like critique of American Nazareth, I think it had a like really good like core. I really liked the allegory and kind of everything that was happening under the hood. I think Trade Your Time is gonna expand on like character development and story in a like I think the improvement in those departments between those two films, I think you're like showing your skills between those two like a lot. Yeah, and I think it's cool that in my mind American Nazareth has like a similar core of like allegorical stuff and like weird like metatextual things. And that carries over to Trade Your Time, but we've just like beefed up, story, characters. I mean, we'll have to see what happens once Trade Your Time is actually out, and we'll do another review of that once it hits its 1 year. But yeah, it's cool to see this one like walk so the next one can run. I think.
Yeah.
But
you mentioned. Oh, I did want to briefly before we wrap up, just like talk about the like allegory, like what's happening there
for sure,
because there's a lot of stuff happening story wise, but also there's a whole like what does everything mean,
right?
So as we mentioned before, Solomon is like a characterization of Christian nationalism. We kind of had this idea that like he stole this land that he was on, he was living on it, and attributing that to like God blessing him when he like murdered someone,
right,
to get this and stole this,
right.
And so he's like heavy into like ensuring his own prosperity and like praying for that on someone else's land that he stole. Obviously you can see the connections to like American Christianity and like us coming over here to America and
taking what we think is ours.
Yeah. And then attributing that to like a blessing from God.
Right.
And I don't know, we see Solomon needing more resource and not being happy with what's on his land and going, crossing that border, that fence that he crosses and going into someone else's land.
Right.
Continuing that, continuing to pillage.
Yeah.
And going on and saying like, this isn't enough, I need more, going expanding onto someone else's land.
Right.
When he finds someone else who's there and that's has been living there for generations, being like, nah, I need this. This is mine.
Yeah.
Not
being satisfied with what he has.
Yeah.
I think is
yeah. And so it's a lot of, I guess you could say it's like a film about like American like colonialism, but I think Christian nationalism also, just like,
for sure.
I don't know, the name American Nazareth. I don't even know, like you could make a lot of connections to what it actually means.
Yeah.
But I think like American, and there's also the idea of like being so important that you're kind of like a messiah or whatever, or you're the most important thing, and you're the savior of this land and the savior of yourself,
right,
on this land. So whatever you're doing is important because you're doing it.
Yeah. Like ordained.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Sam and Carson really killed it.
Yep.
They showed up and kicked ass. That was great. The whole crew was really on fire. We have some good BTS from Kyle Ross. I wish we could have him on every BTS.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Yeah. Really great.
Really great. I didn't realize at the time when you were like presenting this idea to me, I was like, okay, cool. Michael's making a short film and he wants to like bounce some ideas off of me. Like, that's awesome. I'll totally be down for this. But I think it's really cool. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately, as like someone who makes art, I've been thinking lately that like collaboration is huge. Like I really want to collaborate with people, just like see what like weird ideas can be like knocked around. and like collaborate with people of all mediums, cross mediums. It's just something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I've been trying to do that more going forward. And I don't know. I just think like one day when I'm like really old, I'll be able to look back on this and be like, yeah, like I remember this, and we had such a good time, and like, oh man, me and Michael, we go way back, and the whole crew, and Hunter and Kyle and Sam and Carson, and just how good of a time it was. Yeah. Good stuff. If you're listening and you can collaborate with someone and you can make a short film, even if it's totally dumb, do it. Totally worth doing.
Yeah.
I feel like we've always said that, but
especially the medium of like film, like that's naturally, it has to be a very like collaborative,
right?
Because you're like incorporating sound and music and photography and writing and acting. Like there's so many components to it that like it just becomes better the more people that you include into it. So I guess that's what we'll leave it out the note on. Just like go make art with people.
Go make art, dude. Honestly,
you know, mess up at it and get better at it
and look back on it and like
in a
recognize
year,
it and like appreciate it, but also be like, here's how I've grown. And that's what you really want. You want to look back on it and be like, here's what I could have done better. Here's what I will do better going forward.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. American Nazareth. Thanks for listening. We will catch you guys on the next one. Probably will be a Trade Your Time.
Definitely.
Next time you hear from us.
We'll do a big group commentary.
Yeah. We'll get everyone in here. We'll hear how Wes said his infamous line. I won't spoil too much, but Wesley Thomas has a big cameo.
Big.
Yeah. You guys are gonna love this. So shout out Wesley Thomas. Shout out Sam Nye. Shout out Kyle Ross. Hunter Murray. Sound engineer extraordinaire. He's been sitting here for this whole conversation.
He really has. We love you, Hunter.
Okay.
All right.
That's
Thanks
enough.
for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.